How you doing, YouTube? Matt, Massive Beer Reviews, back with not a beer video. Well, you would hope not. I'm not driving. Well, you know, if I was in Mississippi or Connecticut or... Well, no, you can't really drink and drive there. You could be a passenger. Anyway, this is not a beer video. This is not a massive commutes video. This is kind of a tag video. One of those videos where people kind of answer questions or do stuff, and then they kind of tag other people, and then those other people kind of jump on that train and kind of reciprocate and kind of pass it on, chain letter, if you will. And this one is, I was tagged by Han Yolo from out west. Good kid. I can say kid. I got a lot of gray. I'm allowed to say kid. He does beer reviews and like sneaker reviews, and he did tag me in a 5 things about you that aren't beer related kind of video. This has actually been going around for a while. My wife did one of these for her. She does knitting and fiber and stuff. If you follow my channel, you know that. And she did one of these a while ago, and it was pretty much Instagram based, but it looks like it's infiltrated the beer YouTube world. It's pretty much all internet kind of fads and trends and all that stuff. It's all, you know, kind of makes its rounds and whatnot. So here we are. I'm a little nasally, a little bit stuffed up, a little bit sick. I was like, oh man, I got tagged in something, I'm sick. And I'm like, you know what? I haven't done a massive commute in a while. I'm not in the beer mood, so I'm not going to jump into the old studio and do stuff. So here you go. 5 beer things you probably might know about me if you follow my channel close enough, but we're going to talk about them anyway. Number 1, let's start at the beginning. I love driving. I am driving to work right now, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I like that kind of driving. My favorite pastime outside of kind of just never shutting the fuck up about beer is to drive. It's semi-beer related in that it facilitates me kind of going out and visiting breweries and stuff like that. But ever since I've been young, I've just loved to drive. I wouldn't necessarily call myself a car guy. You know, I can change my oil, do brakes, things like that. But I'm not like a car guy. Like I drive a 2017 Volkswagen GTI Autobahn. Before that, I was in a 2005. I'm not one of those people that soups it up and puts all the kind of APR tune, fucking all kinds of crazy shit all over the car. I do little things here and there to make it more comfortable for me, but it's all kind of just to facilitate me kind of driving around and have a good time. You know, if I have nothing to do, or let's actually say this, if I don't want to do anything on the weekend, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to do shit this weekend. I'm just going to, you know, hang around the house on Saturday, get some stuff done and relax. That never happens. I end up in my car going somewhere. Typically it involves windy roads, high music, or loud music, and high speeds, typically. Not bringing the speed limit, just going the allowable speed limit if Johnny Law is watching. But yeah, it's probably one of my favorite pastimes to do, to be perfectly honest with you. So I've been doing that for years. You guys probably know that. I've talked about it a couple times before, but that's probably number 1. Number 2, I used to be a musician for many years. Again, something you guys might know because there's been a couple times where I posted music stuff. Not a typical musician, I was a DJ. Some people wouldn't even classify that as a musician, but yeah, it is what it is. I was a pretty active DJ for a while, and when I say DJ, a lot of people have a lot of different thoughts that kind of run around their heads. You know, there's wedding DJs and club DJs and all that kind of stuff. I was an underground techno DJ back in the kind of heyday of kind of electronic music and like quote-unquote rave music up and down the East Coast, predominantly up here in the Northeast. And, you know, I've been lucky enough to play with and play in front of a crazy amount of people. You know, some of the biggest people I respect when it comes to music, from Semantic Responses to Frankie Bones, Adam X, Heather Hart, those kind of guys, and a lot of the people, you know, the hardcore scene and the Lenny D's of the world and stuff like that. I've been on the same bill as those people, so I was pretty active doing that stuff for many, many years. But that's a young man's game, says the old guy. And I kind of quit doing it a while ago. You know, you do that stuff, and it involves you being out late and getting into nefarious positions and stuff like that, and just a time frame alone. Typically, if you're a well-known or well-respected DJ, you know, preferred time slot is, you know, around 2-3 o'clock a.m. man. I do not see 2 or 3 o'clock a.m. at all nowadays. I'll creep out there every now and then as like an old timer day and kind of do my piece. But man, I still have my turntable stuff on my records. Still have a lot of machinery when it comes to like making music and stuff like that. It's just more of a hobby now than it was kind of something as a passion in the back back in the day. So you guys might have known that, but who knows? Number 3, I've talked about. Oh, I should stop saying I talked about these and just get to it. I was actually a body modification artist for many years. For almost 20 years. That's what I did for a living. What do you mean body modification? That sounds like calling somebody a custodial engineer when they're a janitor. Body modification, kind of the core of it's body piercing. That's what I did. I started in like 1997. Oh God, was it earlier than that? Jesus, I don't even know. That's how long ago it was. Anyway, I started in 1997, I believe, and it kind of evolved from there. So I did body piercing, but it evolved into a lot of different things. I did implants and scarification and branding and all kinds of crazy shit that people are like, what the fuck are you talking about? And I loved it, man. It was a really cool gig. I dug it. It was cool because, you know, one, it worked for myself, and when when you're successful at what you do, I was pretty well respected in the community as far as what I did and the things that I brought to the table. There's a lot of like dicey tattoo artists and body piercers out there that do shit definitely the wrong way, and I was kind of like one of the people that kind of went out of their way to kind of make sure shit was done the right way. Anyway, I did that for like I said, 18 years, and then about 5 years ago, I just kind of got a bug up my ass about just changing, doing something a bit different, and I decided to change my profession. Now I do kind of like technical IT logistics, kind of a whole bunch of computer-based stuff that I wouldn't say I'm classically trained in, but I did that as a good part of my life, hence the tattoos and the ears and all that kind of stuff. That's kind of where I kind of my butter was bread, or my bread was buttered. Being sick, you forget your freaking weird analogies, but or sayings or whatever. But yeah, I did that for several years, almost 20 years, and I dug it. So yeah, not a lot of people kind of are privy to that information, which is nice. What else? Let's see, whatever. Number 3, 4. We're on number 4 already. Holy shit. I'm a home theater nerd. Yeah, I'm a home theater nerd. I did a walkthrough of my place once, real quick. You might have caught a glimpse of it. But if not, like I'm a home theater nerd. I have a home theater. It's not a big screen because it's just my basement doesn't allow it. I've had bigger before, but I have a 100-inch projection screen TV with a reference sound system, and that's kind of my daily driver. A lot of people don't do that when it comes to their home theater setups. More times than not, when people do their home theater, it's kind of for movie watching and things like that. I use it as my everyday driver. When I come home, I have TV, kind of sit down and eat dinner and stuff. Just pop on, whether it be some kind of shitty sitcom or Jeopardy, which I watch every night because kids, you need to learn. And I crush it at fucking Jeopardy. I'm actively trying to get on the Jeopardy right now. It's kind of crazy. So anyway, that'll watch on regular TV. But once that's done, man, I settle into the kind of, I call it my living room because it's not necessarily a home theater per se, even though it's set up like that. And that's what I watch all my shit on. I game on that. And it's kind of one of the reasons not to kind of turn this back on the beer thing, because it's not supposed to be about beer. It's I adopted 1080p for 60 frames per second a while ago, just because I watched almost all beer reviews. I watched them on a 100-inch screen, and a lot of beer reviews were done in lower resolutions at lower frame rates, and it kind of irritated the shit out of me, just because watching on a big screen, you kind of need that higher resolution. That's why Blu-ray exists, and that's why 4K exists for those larger screens. So that's the whole reason why I started doing videos in those formats. Now I'm kind of going down that rabbit hole now. I'm in the midst of converting my whole home theater to 4K. I'm about to kind of buy the last portion of the show, which will be a 4K projector. Once that happens, I'm probably going to start recording videos in 4K. So that's going to suck for nobody but me, because that means I'm going to have to upload way more shit. And last but not least, I'm a farmer. Farmer adjacent, I guess you would say. Yeah, I did body modification for 8 years, and for the past, or to 18 years, for the past 4 years, I've done pretty much just like technology, and but along the way I met a awesome woman. You have met her, my beautiful wife, Liesel, and she has a farm, and we got married, and you can't move a farm, so I moved to the farm, so technically I'm a farmer. When I met her, we were actually in the midst, or they were in the midst of converting their farm. And by that I mean it used to be a family farm. It was in their family for generations. It got overgrown and kind of covered up to the point where you couldn't really tell it was a farm. It was just a big old field. And she kind of got the hankering, the kind of obsession of bringing it back to being a farm. Diesel, my wife, being a knitter and dyer and basically wool fiber kind of person, and that's what she does for a living. She wanted to kind of bring it back to farm and kind of use it to facilitate her what she does for a living and make it more of a sheep farm. So when I met her, they were just starting that process, and now we've gotten to the point where, you know, we've got wells dug, we've gotten, you know, fencing put in, you know, we have goats and chickens, and we have cows. I'm sure you've watched a couple of the videos and saw the cows in the background hanging out. So yeah, I'm technically a farmer. I don't do any of it. My wife is in charge of all that. She's the one that does all the heavy lifting. Well, actually, let me rephrase that. She's the one that does most of the lifting. When it comes to the really heavy lifting, that's where I come into play. When I have to wrangle up our asshole goat Jerry and kind of clean his wounds and do all that kind of shit, that's when I get the old bat signal to come do that stuff. And yeah, there you go. That's 5 non-beerish things, even though I've probably tied all these things into beer at some point or another. 5 beerish things about me that you probably didn't know, or maybe you did, but we talked about them anyway. So there you go. Now I'm going to tag people. Let's see who I want to tag. First person I'm going to tag actually is Chris Deltz of Beer Geek Nation. Chris doesn't do these anymore. Doesn't look like he's in the community really at all. But you never know. Maybe he watches this and maybe gets a hankering and kind of comes back and tells us what he's doing. I don't know. So I figured I'd tag Chris. Next up, I'll tag, let's see, is it Max up at the Craft of War Tastes? I like his reviews. I dig them. I watch them. He's not super far away from me. He's probably one of the other people that I'm trying to remember people that weren't tagged. So I'll tag him. And last but not least, I'll tag Rob from Hopzine. He's one of my favorite beer tubers out there. I watch pretty much all his videos, and he does a pretty damn good job of it. At least I think so. So works for me. So there you go. Thank you, Han YOLO, for the old tag. Hopefully you guys dealt with the nasally awesomeness of me, kind of yammering in the camera and saying 5,000 times. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully you get tagged, do your own video. Hopefully see you next time.